greetings, Cap fans. Welcome to episode 216 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. Hey, I'm Rik Levins. I'm your host, and I've got a co-host. That's Mr. Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob. This is a fabulous boy's name of Latin origin. The meaning auspicious, lucky, or fortunate. It's no wonder it was so widespread during the rule of the Roman Empire and remains a pretty popular name today. Any guesses?
Fred?
So close.
Well, it was worth a shot. No, I have no idea.
No?
No.
Faustus.
Oh, Faustus. Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't it German for fist?
I don't know.
You know how I know that?
Uh-uh.
Because when I have three older brothers. The youngest of my older brothers has one son. His name is Zach. He was born he's I don't know, 20.
You know what? I wanted to name my first boy Zach, and I got overruled.
Did you? Well, he
Yeah.
wanted to name his first boy, his only boy, Faustus. And I remember at the time, I was like, Faustus? He's like, yeah, it means German. It's German for fist. He got overruled.
Yeah. Did you just take him for his word, and for the rest
I
of your
did.
life, that's what you
Yeah.
think it means?
That's what I thought it meant.
Yeah. No, I will say, the Latin origin is it means auspicious, lucky, or fortunate.
Huh.
Yes.
Interesting.
And you know what's Australian for beer? Foster's.
Faustus, that's right. Do they still make that? I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah. No, it's
Foster Lager?
it's funny.
Yeah.
That is not their slogan in Australia. Their slogan in Australia is something completely different. It's like the amber or something or whatever. But the rest of the world, their slogan is Australian for beer.
There you go.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Foster's.
Huh.
Yeah. And
One of
anyway,
those
why am I
hands.
greeting you with such a greeting today, Bob?
Well, I do know that one. And that is because our favorite psychiatrist, Dr. Faustus, is featured in tonight's story.
He is. I think he is totally an underrated villain
He
for
is.
Captain America.
Yeah.
He
I
has
think so
been
too.
behind some really bad things that have happened to him, to Bucky, to Jack Monroe, Sharon
Sharon?
Carter.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. William Burnside.
yeah,
On and on. Yeah.
yeah,
He's a
yeah.
nefarious dude.
He really is.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Bob, you know what? If people are listening when this comes out, it's Thanksgiving week, and
Gobble,
just another
gobble, gobble.
day. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
know you love turkey.
Yeah. I like petting turkeys.
You got any plans for Thanksgiving?
Nope. We're staying home, Rick.
Nice.
Staying home. We're not doing the whole in-law thing this year. We're just
The
gonna stay home.
Lin-Law?
The
What the
Lin-Law.
heck is
Lin-Law.
the Lin-Law?
Yeah, it's a step up from the in-laws or a step down as the case may be. I don't know. But we're just gonna stay home, spend some family time, the three of us, my wife, my son, and I, and the cats, and just relax a little bit because we've all been like full out, it
Hmm.
seems, the last few months. So how about yourself? You got any big plans?
Uh, Big plans? No. The We're going to be spending Thanksgiving with Meg's father and his family, and so we're doing that. But what I'm most excited about, because as you know, my son has been touring
Yep.
in since September, and he is on his second tour as Blippy. He's in Blippy, the musical whatever.
Yeah.
He just came back from Canada. I don't know where he's at, but he has off like 4 days in a row. So we're flying him in, and I get to spend a day with him. So that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Is this
excited
is this
about.
like do you have to get a limo to pick him up at the airport? I mean, is it like is
He does have
it
to kind of he has
has
to
it gone to
schedule
his
us in.
head? Yeah, it's gone to his head.
No, not at all. Not at all. He's such a sweet kid.
Yeah,
I couldn't be more proud of him.
yeah, that's awesome.
But anyway, so yeah, that's what we got going on.
That's awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
Rick, guess what happened today?
What's that?
I was out leading some trekkers on a hike, and somehow we got around to the
Did you say
captain.
truckers?
Trekkers.
Trekkers.
Trekkers. Yeah, they do it.
Okay.
This organization that I work with does an annual documentary, and they pick a part of Florida it's called the Florida Wildlife Corridor Foundation, And basically the idea behind this foundation is they're trying to connect parcels of land to stretch the whole length of Florida. And the idea is to allow panther and other wildlife to be able to travel freely in their habitats and find mates and keep the species alive. And rather than it all be fragmented and these animals have to cross highways and stuff like that, developments. And so they do this every year. And this year they're doing that expedition in the place where I work. And so I was out there guiding them around and talking to them. But the Captain America comic book fans podcast came up, and I think we're going to have some new listeners. They were
What?
intrigued. Some of these guys were intrigued by the concept that we have done a Captain America comic book fans podcast now for many years and have well over
Hmm.
250 right
This is
episodes.
episode 216, but thanks for paying attention.
Okay, yeah. Well, in my head, I'm planning ahead for the ones that we're going to do, right? And so, I mean, they were just like really,
How did it
impressed
come up?
about the whole thing. They said, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to record a podcast. We do it every Tuesday." And they're like, "No kidding! What kind of podcast is it
And
about?
then they said, today's
Conservation? Is it,
Wednesday.
yeah, that's right. Is it about panthers? Is it about wetlands?" And I said, "Well, actually, no, it's not about any of those things. It's about Captain America." And so we got to, and a couple of those guys have done podcasts, and so they were intrigued at the concept and started looking it up on their phone
Hmm.
and sharing it with each other and like, "Oh my God, look at this." So yeah, always
And
marketing, always be marketing. ABM.
that's true. And so what? Shout out to who?
Well, this is the Florida.
You want to say their first name? Just give them a shout out.
No, you shouldn't give them a shout out because I don't remember their first names.
We just lost two listeners.
I know, dude. This is why I'm not I got such a short-term memory issue, so and
uh,
long-term for that matter. So,
that's
hey, how
true.
you doing? Good to see you. I told you I used to take my wife to diplomatic receptions because I could never remember anyone's name. So,
Smart man.
yeah,
Yeah, speaking of Thanksgiving, I was trying to find the right story to cover for this episode, but there's really not a Thanksgiving
yeah.
themed issue story that has Cap in it, other
Christmas.
than
Yes, but
the Vision and the Scarlet Witch 12 issue miniseries.
yeah,
And there's this one scene, one issue where Cap is invited over to a Thanksgiving dinner, right? And there's
oh,
all these other people there, and then Magneto shows up because he's Scarlet Witch's dad and
yeah,
grandfather of her kids, and it was a little awkward. And so, but there is a couple of cool panels that Cap is standing there with Vision and Namor, and it's so funny. So the three of them are just standing around, holding a drink, standing off on the side of a
yeah,
party, like what happens, right?
yeah,
And Namor's like, "So Vision, how have you enjoyed your departure from the Avengers ranks?" He says, "Well, to tell you the truth, my thoughts naturally have been occupied with our coming child. I haven't really thought about the old group, except for the West Coast branch, of course, where my brother is, and his brother being Simon Williams."
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Wonder
Cap,
Man, Wonder Man.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then Cap, he says, "But speaking of old groups, I just had the wildest thought," and he snaps his fingers, and he says, "Your synthesized body once belonged to the original Human Torch, right? I know you're a different person now without the Torch's memories, but if you had them, we'd have the three main members of the Invaders here." And then Namor's like, "Neptune's trident. I never realized, but that's true. You survived after World War II by being frozen. I simply age at a much slower rate than surface dwellers, and this android's body was rebuilt." And then Vision goes on to say, "An interesting idea, Cap, but I'm afraid the rebuilding did destroy the Torch's personality completely, so I can't see myself as anyone but myself. If this body fought beside you two in the 1940s, I didn't." And then next panel, he's thinking to himself, "But it is an interesting idea." So
Yeah. It's
Steve
also a
Englehart
downer. Yeah.
was the writer, and so you just wonder if he's kind of like planting a little seed
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Vision being a downer though. Jeez. What a killjoy.
Yeah, it's like the little zoom in of Debbie Downer.
I know,
Wah,
right?
wah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, you're right.
All right. Well, we've been talking about this story, Bob. Should we get to it?
Sure. I guess why not?
All right. Today we're covering two issues. One is Captain America 421, and then the other one, the second part of this story, actually is a crossover with the Nomad series. So it's going to take place in Nomad Volume 2, number 19. So we'll start with this first part. And this has a cover date of November 1993. It's been a while since we've been back to the 90s, Bob. So we thought, this would be a good one. Plus, the other reason I wanted to do this one, not only to revisit the 90s, but next episode, we're going to be interviewing the writer of the Nomad series, Fabian Nicieza. And so I thought, what better than to, you know, tie something in with one of Fabian's stories?
Good call. Good call. I was hoping for a turkey story, but this is really the next best thing.
Yeah. So the writer of this Captain America 421 is Mark Gruenwald, and then penciled by Rik Levins, inked by Danny Bellondi and Dan Day, colorist George Roussos, letterer Joe Rosen, and editor Mike Rockowitz. And I got to tell you, Mike is a hoot. He's a member of our Captain America Comic Book Fans Facebook group. But we also had him on the show. And if you want to check out episode 56, he was the 90s Captain America editor and other books as well. And it was a no holds bar conversation. He dropped some names and gave some strong opinions.
Some F
And
bombs too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we bleeped those out, but yeah, but it's a real fun conversation, revisiting what was Marvel Comics like in the 1990s. So make sure you check out episode 56 for Mike Rockwitz. All right, Bob, do you want to take the listeners through this cover?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it is, as you said, Captain America 421, and we find ourselves in what appears to be maybe a mansion or something, because we've got some very ornate woodwork on the wall. And we got three characters. We've got Cap, and he is rushing away from us headlong toward Nomad, who is dressed in a very funky 90s style. So I know you're going to ask me. So I'm gonna lay it on down, Rick. With
Mm-hmm.
so he's got the olive drab parachute pants. Raise your hand. Who else had olive drab parachute pants?
Oh, I totally had that color in
Yeah.
parachute pants.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
Right.
I
Yeah.
I don't know. Were they parachute pants? I don't think so. I had the side pockets,
Uh-huh.
right?
Cargo pants. Those are cargo
Cargo
pants.
pants. It was
Yeah.
yeah, okay. They were
Oh.
cargo pants.
Oh no, I had the legit parachute pants.
Oh,
They
did
were
you know?
they were sort of very lightweight nylon,
Uh-huh.
like made out of like a parachute, and very billowy. So yeah, I had that look going on, man. I had them in multiple colors from the 80s to this era. This was just I was not wearing them much anymore these days. But anyway, he's got them on, and
Mm-hmm.
he's got some funky boots, man. They look like old time boxing boots. You know, the kind that lace up from the toes all the way up to like just below the knee, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
He's sporting those. He's got a utility belt on that's all pouches except for a big yellow N where the buckle would be.
Mm-hmm.
He's sporting the black tank top, and the piece de resistance for me is the sleeveless trench coat, because trench coat ain't enough. It's hot. You got to take the
Mm-hmm.
sleeves off it, and then he's got those big 1990s style shades on. So he's looking, and he's got an armband on. But what's curious is that the armband that you see on the cover isn't necessarily the one you see inside.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was, and what you see inside, we'll just go ahead and say it's a Nazi
yeah, it's a swastika.
swastika,
Yeah,
and so they they made the editorial decision to not put that on the cover. I guess in 1993, at that point they were like, "Nah, we're not putting
yeah,
swastikas on anything."
yeah. We're not doing that. So anyway, we got these two characters, and Jackman Nomad has got his double barrel shotgun, and he's shooting it at Cap, who's got his shield up, blocking the I guess the buckshot, and then behind these guys on a big a big what is it, lavender purple pillow of gigantic proportions is the Slug.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a big man, as you know, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a shirt on, and I'm assuming those are palm trees and not marijuana leaves. Sporting his yellow Hawaiian shirt, but he looks a little shocked at what's going on in front of him. So it's an intriguing cover because we've got Jack basically attacking Cap with the Slug watching.
So you didn't really describe the slug, and I just want to point this out. So, um, because you said he's a very large man,
Yeah,
and I think that's
I think
understating
that's
it.
the Kingpin's large.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, Kingpin is like a health guru compared to the Slug, Ulysses Slug, right? This guy is gigantic in a. I hate to say it because it's 2024, right? But this guy is a big fat dude.
He's morbidly obese.
Morbid. There you go. He would be on my 600-pound life
Oh,
if they had
totally.
this. Yeah, if they had the show.
Now, if you want to get the introduction of the slug, we actually covered this way back in episode 199. And that came out in 1987. It was Captain America 325. So this is like 6 years, 5.5 years after that story, not in real time. I mean, not in Marvel time, but in real time. So, at this point, we start to see him where the ends justify the means, where he goes ahead and crosses the line that Cap would not cross. So we see that in the beginning in Captain America 325, which again, episode 199, if you want to check that out. But yeah, he's a big man. Oh, and by the way, I looked it up in marvelfandom.com. I looked up the slug. They have him listed at 450 pounds
That seems very conservative.
and 6'8". That's a
Taller than I would have anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It
Well,
reminds me of Jerry Seinfeld. So people, I remember being interviewed, and he said, people ask me, how can you be funny without offending people? And he said, the secret is always exaggerating. He says, so if I tell a fat joke and I'll say, well, the 400-pound man did this, the 250-pound man in the audience goes, now that's fat. So there you go.
there
It's
you
for
go.
450 pounder.
Good life advice there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. When I got this back in 1993, that was the last time I read this.
That's right. Yeah.
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 Wasn't my favorite period of Captain America comics. I
Wish it.
didn't go back and reread them. So
Yeah.
this was my first time rereading this
I
story.
sometimes wish when I had done that, when I bought comics off the spinner rack or the newsstand, I had maybe put like a $10 bill in it or something, right? Because now I'd be like, pulling them open and like, hey,
Whoa.
yeah, $10. I don't remember that.
Note to self, make sure you buy Bob's comic collection after he
That's right.
dies. It's worth a heck of a lot
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to read the top here because it's always interesting to see how they change the opening, to the comic, uh, different creators over the years. Steve Rogers, born in the USA, raised to cherish the ideals of democracy, endowed with a superhuman physique, and driven to be the most capable combatant in the world. Now, as both lone crusader and leader of the renowned Avengers, he fights an ongoing battle for liberty, justice, and the American dream. So we see here Cap standing in front of a broken window, right? A very large window, like he could just walk through it. And he looks angry and he's holding his shield. And then from our perspective, we're seeing looking at him is Jack Monroe. And he is wearing what you described, except you could see front and center on his left arm is a swastika armband. And he's got his fist clenched looking at Cap. The Miami estate of crime lord Ulysses X. Lugman, alias the Slug, where two ex-partners have come to loggerheads. This time I'm not turning my back. This time I'm taking you down. You pulled the trigger, Jack. You tried to kill a man in cold blood. This story picks up where Nomad 18, still on sale, leaves off, but don't worry, we'll fill you in on everything you need to know as we zoom along. Mindful Mike. That would be Mike Rockwitz. And we turn the page, and we see the title of the story is
Gantlet.
Now, Bob, when you saw Gantlet,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts?
My thought is, what the hell's a gantlet?
So it was interesting. So I was in Marvel fandom,
Uh-huh.
and you look down at the bottom. There's like, there's like a little
Yeah.
synopsis, and then they give a little bit of inside information. Sometimes it's helpful. And it says here, yes, this editor notes that the title Gantlet is misspelled. However, the wording is the exact title of this story.
Huh.
Now that got me intrigued, Bob.
It does, yeah.
So I went and I looked it up. And Gantlet, because you and I are both thinking gauntlet, right?
Sure,
To
yeah.
run the gauntlet, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of what's going on here. And there are Gantlet is completely a word, and it does have a meaning that is here. So I don't think this is a misspelling. And I saw an article in the Chicago Tribune, and this was August 22nd of 2021. So just 3+ years ago. And I'm going to read the article to it. It's very short.
Okay.
And it says, well, which is it, Gantlet or Gauntlet? Above Friday's page one story detailing how some Chicago public school students dodge gangs and violence on their way to class appeared the headline, The Gantlet. Readers were incensed, and the gauntlets, or gloves, came off. In fact, the headline apparently sparked so much interest that the term Gantlet rose to number 10 on Google's list of hottest internet searches Friday morning.
Oh, my goodness.
How could the Tribune commit such a grievous error? We've clearly chosen the wrong word. Dozens of readers told us by phone and email and in online comments. Had we? Webster's New World College Dictionary, which we use in the newsroom, prefers gantlet when describing the act of running between two rows. The dictionary also accepts gauntlet in this usage, though the primary definition is a medieval glove worn by knights.
Yeah.
For consistency, newspapers adopt a style that ensures one uniform use of certain terms. In the Tribune's case, we go with the Associated Press style, which is to use the term gantlet. The response shows that the spelling we chose, though correct, was less familiar to readers. The alternative bowed to common usage by choosing gauntlet. Can we all just pick up our gauntlets now and move on?
Nice. Nice. Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Well done on the research, Rick.
You know how thorough I am, Bob.
I know. You like can't let these hang.
So we're looking at here a double page splash, but it's not the full page. It is the top 2/3 of the page, and then the bottom third of the page goes across in 4 different panels. But the top third is what you're basically seeing, like the before the cover. So Nomad has got his sawed-off shotgun facing Cap. Cap standing there with his shield, and in the background is a very large slug. And I'm going to go with no. Those are marijuana plant. That's not a palm tree.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then I love his necklace.
I know. I'm trying to make out what that is exactly.
That's like shark teeth.
Is that shark teeth?
Yeah, yeah. He's got like bands with some shark teeth hanging down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's got his little sunglasses.
Tiny little sunglasses are awesome.
And he's sitting on a bunch of really large pillows. And if you remember in episode
Those aren't
199,
pillows. It's that time of year.
that's true. Now drop that gun before you get hurt. And then the slug is thinking to himself, oh dear, oh my, that skin headed nomad character almost killed me. If I hadn't been for the timely appearance of the Avenger, my magnificent obesity would be laced with lead. You tried to kill me, you bleep! Now you have the nerve to come here and threaten me again? What? What are you talking about, Nomad? I never tried to. Don't lie to me! And then he takes 2 shots at him.
Kapow! Kapow!
And he does it by he aims down and then he aims up. And then Cap uses his shield very quickly. Clever. He knows enough to aim for where my shield's not. My head and feet. Just have to hunker down behind it and spring straight towards his gun.
Rock!
Which basically destroys the front of the shotgun. Now I said, lose the gun. And he uses his shield to knock it away.
What?
Left yourself open, man, for me to do this. And he gives him a headbutt.
Food.
And now this. And he kicks him as Cap's a little disoriented from the headbutt. And he lands on Slug. Watch it. And this next page. Oh, my goodness. Jack comes up behind Cap, who's face down on the slug, and then buries his head in the flesh of the slug. You're so keen on coming to the defense of the slug. Take a good look at the man you're defending. A good, hard, close look, buried in some fold in the fat man's blubber. Get off me. And then, I love this. Cap's head is half pushed into the blubbery of the slug, and he starts to have a flashback. And so this is the way of kind of getting you up to speed on what happened at the end of Nomad 18. Why is it whenever I run into my ex-partner these days, we're on opposing sides? Of course, considering how I got myself into this affair, I should have been able to anticipate this particular scenario. It started on my way back from the West Coast when I was transferred a call from a stranger. Yes. Thank you for taking my call, Captain. The name's Giscard Epure. I'm a friend of Jack Monroe. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it sounded fine to me. It sounded,
Okay.
yeah, that's about right.
I thought you might be interested to know that our mutual friend is at this moment under the tender mercies of a Dr. Faustus at a psychiatric ward in Florida. I had my pilot set down in Orlando, and I broke my wheels out of the storage hold. This Apur fellow knew something that I didn't, that my old enemy, the criminal psychiatrist calling himself Dr. Faustus, had managed to escape incarceration and was up to his old tricks at a Florida sanatorium. Hadn't seen Faustus in a few years. Don't know if I should be sad or glad that he hasn't seen fit to rope me into one of his schemes of late. Nomad goes back quite a ways with him too. Seems he's Faustus' preferred target these days. And Cap's riding a motorcycle.
I love the Cap leather jacket with the Avengers A on the shoulder.
Yep.
That's Florida, right? Yeah.
And then it's 90s is what that is.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's got that 70s Captain America motorcycle helmet.
There it is.
I arrive at the address Erpur gave me. A sanatorium, all right. Getting on the grounds undetected is no problem. And so he leaves his bike and he does a somersault, tucking his knees into his chest, over top of the gate. He was pretty darn close to those points on there. But getting inside the main building may be harder. But then Fortune smiles. I'm in. So people were leaving, so he ducks in the door unnoticed. or is he unnoticed? You turn the page, and there's a two-thirds page splash. And we're looking from behind Cap, but we're looking between his legs at seeing Dr. Faustus at the other end of the hallway in a wheelchair. And how would you describe Dr. Faustus, Bob?
Well, he's got his usual green pinstripe suit on, Rick, with an orange sweater vest, which is always nice. And you know, Faustus is a big man too, but he's in a wheelchair here, and so he's sitting, still very very large, a girthy man. Some would say, you know, he's intimidating, right? I mean, he's got sort of a he's got a big physique. Although we don't necessarily associate him with, you know, being a strong man, but he is a big and a strong man, and he's got
Well,
a flame.
according to Marvel fandom, Bob, sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but he's 6'6",
Mhm.
321 pounds.
No, there you have it. There you have it. And he's got a flaming red beard and mustache to go with his bushy red eyebrows, and he's got red hair on top of that as well. So if it was white, he'd look a lot like Santa Claus.
That's true. I have a question. If you say someone has a beard, do you have to also say they have a mustache?
I think you do these days, Rick. I think those
Really?
are two separate phenomenon.
Well, I know you can have a mustache without a beard, but can you have a beard without a mustache?
I do. I have seen people do that. Yeah, it's very stylish now to have the little sort of goatee thing going on, but without the mustache.
But that's a goatee. That's not a beard.
Aren't they all beards?
I don't know.
Is that like a Nez Pierce and a you know all these
A
different
Fu Manchu.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a I think that's a mustache. But aren't they all just variations of beards?
I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah.
could have a very immature, childlike definition of a beard. You know what I mean? To me, a beard is something that covers, from your ear to your ear and
Yeah.
covers, underneath your nose and around
Yeah.
on your mouth. That's a full beard. Anything else is like a variation thereof.
Huh. Well, I don't know. I just think it is, you know, sort of, yeah, variations on a theme. I think if I was ever going to grow a beard, Rick, I would just do it from sort of like my neck down.
Ah,
Yeah, nothing, you
eh,
know, just keep it nice and clean shave up here, but just like from here down, because that's the part I hate shaving the most.
that's a look.
You don't see that every day. Neck beard.
Faustus. Ah, Captain America. What an astounding coincidence. I was just thinking about you. I'll bet. My sources say you're holding my old partner here, Faustus. Hmm. And which old partner might that be? Bucky Barnes? No, he's still dead. Sharon Carter? No, dead too. Now, this is interesting because we often think of Sharon Carter just being alive, right? But there was a long time where she
Long time.
wasn't. She
Yeah,
was thought to be dead. It
you're
wasn't
right.
until Mark Waid and Ron Garney brought her back in probably I would say 3, 4 years from now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The Falcon, perhaps? He's not dead yet. Nomad. Nomad. You mean Jack Monroe? No, sorry. Your sources are mistaken. I advise you to come no further, Captain. Another step toward me, and I will construe as an act of hostility and instruct my orderly to make appropriate measures. The session is over. I will send you my bill. The orderly who emerged from the elevator, probably armed, 20 feet, stood between them and me. Okay, Faustus, you win. You've outsmarted me again. You're way too clever for me. See you around. I pivoted as to walk away, then sprang toward him. He had two other surprises awaiting my turn back. Shoot him. And then they start firing, Bob.
Bram, patak, patoom.
Turn the page. Being shot at from 3 vantage points in these close quarters, I can't afford to go easy. I hit the one nearest me low and hard. And so we see Cap do a forward somersault, He lands on his back and he looks like he's hitting with both his feet in the knees of
Yeah.
the guy, and it makes a noise.
Yeah, it's like a crick.
So he's taking these guys' knees out.
He's kneecapping him for sure. Yeah.
Bob, that seems excessive.
It does. He could have aimed a little bit lower, but I guess he was going for the disabling blow here.
And then he hits him with the shield. I'm in so close that to continue to shoot at me, the others risk hitting their own man. Sure enough, the firing ceases for a moment. Sir, Lee is in the way. Continue to shoot, Mr. Waxman. Apparently, hired help is easy to come by in this state. Hey, you're going to hit Lee. The man's the man's wearing a flak jacket, but I see the spray of bullets hit him in the legs at least twice. The third gunman's not rejoined the bullet vest yet, perhaps not wanting to hit his friend. I toss his friend for safekeeping. Oof. And then Cap throws the shield at the guy who was firing and knocks him out. At this point, Faustus is turning his wheelchair and hitting the elevator, and Cap starts running towards him. He's frantically hitting the closed door button. You know something, Faustus? You're exhibiting the classic signs of avoidance behavior. Close, confound it, close! Now then, a private session. We turn the page, and again, 2/3 page, or maybe even a 3/4 page splash. Cap hovering over, looming over the seated Faustus in a elevator with the closed door. Nomad, where? Tell me. Oh, Nomad, you say. He's not here. He was, though, but I sent him on a little errand. You heard of a fellow named Ulysses X. Lugman? The Slug. But now he is, in all probability, the X-Slug. That is, unless you can get to his estate at 4500 Pickett Road in Miami in time. Why would Nomad undertake a mission for a nutcake like you? I can be very persuasive when I want to be, my dear Captain. You know that. So you could waste time taking me into the authorities. But by then your boy Nomad will have become a killer. Perhaps he and I can continue his therapy behind bars. If you mess with Nomad's head, Faustus, you're going to pay. Now, Captain, it is politically incorrect to threaten a man in a wheelchair. And then we next see Cap take the glasses off of Faustus, put them on the ground, and crush them. You're right. And he hits the door open button, ground floor, everyone off. And he pushes Faustus into the waiting guard who had an M16 waiting for him.
A nice job on that weapons identification, right?
Thank you. You were looking at a man who used to read G.I. Joe when he was a kid. I alerted the local shield office as to Faustus' whereabouts and signaled my pilot to meet me at the drop-off point. From there, I flew to Miami, infiltrated the Slug's estate, fought my way through Nomad's accomplices and the Slug's flunkies, only to wind up smothering in the Slug's fleshy folds. Recap is over.
Yeah, complete.
I've had enough. And I guess he takes back the shield and he uses it and backhands Jack, knocking the sunglasses off of his head.
And it makes a noise, Rick.
I know you really want to say it, don't you?
I do. I really do. Wang!
Now that I've gotten it through my thick skull that Faustus has manipulated Jack to be capable of extreme violence towards me, despite our relationship, I'm not going to pull my punches. And then he tackles Jack. Okay, Jack, end of the line. We've got to talk. What did Faustus do to you, Jack? How did he break into your thinking that you're a neo-Nazi skinhead? He revealed to me the truth, man. The truth? From Faustus? Lies are his stock in trade. He knows me better than you. And then he takes his right hand and he puts the thumb in Cap's eye.
That's a low blow.
No, it was actually a high blow. It was right in the
Okay.
eye.
Yeah, that hurts.
And then he goes to punch him, but Cap puts up the shield. You betrayed me, man. You shot me to prove your loyalty to the cause. That's cold. What are you talking about, Jack? You know I never use a gun. What cause?
Tank.
Wait a minute. I know what you're talking about. You must think I'm the Cap of the 50s, your original partner. He was the one brainwashed by Faustus into becoming the grand director of the so-called National Force and was told to shoot you to prove his loyalty. And when did that happen?
That was back in Halcyon issue 232, Rick.
I'm not him. I'm the original Cap. The Falcon was my partner when we met. Your Cap died by self-immolation. Remember? Later, we had a duke out in a movie theater. Oh, okay. You were that Cap. I remember now. Great. Now you know I'm not your enemy. We have no reason to fight. And then he just hits him. What do you call that kind of punch?
Roundhouse?
No, no, like when someone's not expecting something.
Sucker punch.
Yeah, he sucker punched him. That's
Yeah.
it. Yes, we do. I'm a card carrying Nazi and I hate all you stand for. And by the way, just like in Captain America 325, uh, the the slug has a little motorized bed that he's on. So you see the treadmill, underneath, and he's like kind of whirring away.
Yeah.
A Nazi? Get real, Jack. You're as American as I am. That's what I thought too, till the doctor revealed to me what I had long repressed. The doctor revealed to you what he wanted you to believe, Jack. You've got to fight it, not me. Shut up. I know the truth about myself. You don't know squat. Faustus held you captive, drugged you, probably tortured you. And now you believe he told you the truth? Get a grip, son. I am not your son. Don't you ever call me that again. I know who my real father is, what he is. What truth? Tell me this truth. Now they're punching him back and kicking back and forth during all this, by the way. My father was a spy for the Nazis. I was just a kid when I was discovered his secret room in the basement. He beat me, made me swear to never reveal to a soul what I'd seen. So I repressed all memory of it till Faustus uncovered it. That raw pain in his voice. I'm getting the impression he really deep down believes what he's telling me, truth or not. The key to undoing Faustus' control over him may be this father thing, but I'm no psychiatrist. Hammering away at him on this issue may impair his capacity to ever come to terms with it. Okay, say it's true. Your father is a Nazi. So what? That doesn't automatically make you one. Do we all inherit the sins of our fathers? My father was an alcoholic, a wife beater, a quitter. Does that make me the same? I'm going to pause here.
Okay.
So I forgot about this.
I did too.
And so I want to apologize to Rik Remender because we were pretty harsh saying that he was kind of destroying the memory
You took
of
it too far. Yeah.
Steve's father. And
Yeah.
we went into this back when we were covering Escape from
Yeah.
Dimension Z, and we were both didn't like it.
Yeah.
And we said, we think Rik Remender is a great writer, but this particular thing we thought he
Right.
crossed the line.
Yeah.
Turns out it was Mark Gruenwald.
Turns out it was screw. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because, even though we sort of danced around this before, right? About him being an alcoholic. But this is the first time, yeah, that I recall, the wife beating bit. And so I think this might be the first time that has been mentioned. And yeah, I completely forgot about it. This one throwaway panel, sort of set that standard that we did criticize, Rick Remender for. So yeah, yeah. So here it is.
Yep.
Sorry.
Does that make me the same? No. Each of us makes our own destiny. We have the capacity to rise above those failings of our parents. Each generation has a chance to go beyond the accomplishments, good or bad, of the previous one. Stop. You're getting me all confused. No, Jack, it was Faustus who confused you. I'm telling you the way things really are. And why do I bother? To save my own hide? Hardly. I honestly believe I could outfight you if push came to shove. No, Jack, I say this because you are like family to me. The kid brother I never had. Yours, your father's gone. So is mine. All we have left is each other. I'm so confused. And he puts his hand over his face. I think I did it. I got through his psychological defenses. His murderous energy seems all spent. Now, where did the slug go? Jack, hang in there. I've got to check on a few things. Then I'll come back, help you sort through this mess. Okay, pal? And he goes outside, and there's a group of people who are fighting. Some are people who are protecting the slug. Some people are after the slug with Nomad. The slug's henchmen and Nomad's all losers squad are still at it. What were they looking at? And what are they looking at, Bob?
It's the slug, and his little movable chair also apparently has some jet rockets on it that are blasting him up into the sky.
The slug. He's getting away. Cover me. I've got a shot. But just as they're firing, the shield comes and destroys the weapons in their hands.
Brack!
But I think one of the jets got hit because it's starting to sputter and smoke's coming out. And next thing you know, the big old slug goes into the drink and it makes a noise, Bob.
Splooch! It looks better on paper than it sounds when you say these things, doesn't it?
I don't know, man. I think Joe Rosen's having some fun there.
Yeah.
So some of them go chasing after the slug to rescue him, and then the ones that were with Jack start going circling Cap, and he says, "Four against one. Hmm? I surrender if I were you. You're making us laugh, Pops. No, I'm making you hurt." And he starts taking care of him. Forget this hand-to-hand crud. I'm finding my gun. Right behind you, Flint. But Cap's shield takes the both out. Cut to the last page. Cap runs back in to find Nomad missing. Nomad's companions will keep a few minutes. Let me check on Jack. He's not where I left him. But here's his armband tossed on the floor. Apparently, I have succeeded in breaking his programming. But at what cost? Has Jack rechanneled his guilt about who his father was toward the man who rubbed his nose in it? Faustus? Concluded in the pages of Nomad 19, on sale right now. Target, Faustus.
Well, holy cow. All right.
All right. So, Bob, you want to take the listeners through the cover of Nomad?
I really don't. Because this is yeah, this is pure 90s cover territory right here. So the only thing that is recognizable to me is Captain America, who we see, barreling toward us with his right fist raised and his shield. And we see in the foreground, we see a very 90s Lobo looking Jack Monroe Nomad with his flowing hair. And there is a young girl behind him who looks like a cross between Velma from Scooby Doo and who was that? Who was the uniform maker in The Incredibles? You know what I'm talking
Okay.
about?
I need to explain this to you, Bob, because
Yeah,
it's not Velma.
it's not Velma.
No,
Oh,
it's a
good.
baby. It's a
Yeah.
baby he's holding in his arms.
Oh, is he?
Yes. And her name that Jack gave her is Bucky.
Ah, well, she's behind his arm, which is a weird way to render it.
Oh well, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. He has her in like a backpack.
Oh, backpack. All right, all right. Well, this is as frightening a cover as I've seen. And but coming out of Cap is sort of an apparition that looks very terrifying, almost
Hmm.
like some sort of demon, and with lots of arms and limbs, in a very insectoid-like face as well. So almost like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a really interesting cover. It is creepy. It's done by the legendary Michael Golden. Yes, so at the very end of the issue, they actually show the cover that was meant for this particular one. Um, but I'll read it. It says alternate cover department. We thought you'd get a kick out of seeing the initial cover for this issue by interior penciler Bill Wiley and inker Greg Adams. We thought it was terrific, but when Mike Golden told us he was dying to do a cover featuring Nomad and Captain America, how could we refuse? Now, before we pick up your pens to write, we realize that Nomad has short hair in this issue and Bucky is no longer with Jack. But when we saw how cute Mr. Golden rendered Jack's former sidekick, we couldn't bring ourselves to remove her. Bucky fans take note. Perhaps this is a sign of things to come. Wood shavings. I don't know what that means.
Which, oh my, as George Takai would say.
Indeed. All right.
Yeah.
So,
And $1.75, Rick. Prices had gone up since the first part of the story.
all right, I'll read the top of this one. It says Jack Monroe, a failed super soldier, a fallen superhero. Wandering the highways and byways of this vast land, Monroe tries to discover himself by discovering America. Stan Lee presents Captain America and Nomad in
Buried treasures.
somewhere between me trying to find Faustus and Cap trying to find me. The Wanderers found us. And so this is a page of Nomad holding with two hands a pistol. Not sure what kind of pistol this is. It doesn't look like a 45. It has too many other. It doesn't look like a real pistol.
Looks a little bit like a Desert Eagle,
I'm
which
not
were
familiar.
which were very popular back in that decade. I almost bought one myself back in the day, except they were too expensive.
Hmm. And as he's there holding the gun, he could see on his forehead he's really sweating. So there's something going on with him right now. And by the way, I forgot to mention the creators of this particular one. So as I mentioned before, the writer is Fabian Nicieza and the penciler Bill Wiley. There are two different inkers here, Greg Adams and Scott Koblish. Now, if you listeners of the show recall, we had Scott Koblish on the episode 139. Great conversation if you want to check that out. Letterer Jim Novak, colorist Jim Hostin, editor Glenn Herdling, and editor in chief Tom DeFalco. Everyone take 3 giant steps backwards, or I start using that sweaty cannon between your furrowed brows as target practice. One thing you guys should understand before you make your decision. I've had a pretty lousy, decade, I guess, so I'd just as soon shoot all of you as put up with any stupidity. And Cap's there with a gun to his face and a crossbow to his back, with his hands in the air, and one of the other guys holding his shield. Don't do anything rash, Jack. Listen to Cap, Monroe. I got his shield. You're right, Chisel. You do. And then he fires his gun
Boom!
and takes out, he shoots him in the ankle, and he screams in pain, losing Cap's shield. Now you neither have Cap's shield nor an ankle. And Cap jumps and grabs his shield as it's falling to the ground. Jack, that was totally uncalled for. And as he grabs a shield. He uses it to deflect being fired on and dodges an arrow. You're right, Cap. It was. So you take care of the Wanderers. You keep them from assassinating the slug, while I go after the man that forced me to lead this hit in the first place. Faustus is mine. Jack! But he runs out of the building. Flintlock, shoot Monroe now. No. As much as I would like to knock some sense into the lad, shooting him is a bit too extreme. He throws his shield as the gun's being fired, and it ricochets the bullets.
Kapoo! Pa-ching!
Jack knew exactly what he was doing when he left me to take care of Faustus's little hit squad. Keeping me occupied gives him a running head start of apprehending Faustus himself. But since I'm not certain if Jack's current state of mind will stop at just apprehending the Mad Doctor, the only way I'll be able to catch up to Jack now is by taking all of you out as quickly as possible. Shall we begin? And Cap smiles. I'm about to make it back to Faustus's nut ward in half an hour. And he comes up to the gate. He's driving a pickup truck. And he says the code words, I was gone, but I wandered back. He's clear. And they let him in. A part of me wants to run away. Just forget about the animal and run away from the things he'd forced me to remember. Because now that he's scrambled my mind, I don't know which was worse. Having had no memory of my past, of my childhood, of my family, or regaining all of it. Piece by piece, they start to come back, the memories. And now, someone's turned a faucet on that opened the floodgates. And now, I'm drowning. Drowning in myself, in my past, my father, my mother, my sister. What did I do to all of them? What did I do to myself? All I can remember now is his fist hitting me again and again whenever I went into the basement. And he kept saying, Don't talk, Jack. Never tell anyone what you've seen down here. And he was proud of it. And he pounded into us again and again. And I knew more than anything else in the world, I knew I shouldn't talk about my daddy's basement. God help me. It's all so hard to remember. But I think I did. I think I did talk. And he's just struggling with his memories. But we see Faustus. Difficult, isn't it, Mr. Monroe, to learn the truth about yourself? Faustus and the orderlies, his private guards. But Faustus isn't in his wheelchair, Bob.
Oh, he appears to have some exoskeleton legs, braces on his legs, and on his forearms as well, helping him walk upright.
There's no need for bloodshed between us, Jack. I can help you. Haven't you helped me enough? I can help you even more, Jack. I can help you forget everything I've just put you through. Or I can help you remember it all, clearly, in painfully vivid detail. The choice is yours, Jack. And he puts his hand out. But it is a choice. You will be unable to make it if you kill me now, or force my men to kill you. So, Jack, which shall it be? And then I'm going to skip the next 2 pages because I think it's just setting up a story after this. It doesn't really add to this story. So we cut back to the Slug's mansion, and there's Cap with the 4 people. One is got the bloody ankle, and the other one is knocked down conscious. And then there's 2 that are about to approach him. One is a female holding a shotgun. Another one is a guy holding a knife. Honestly, all of you, I really don't mean to sound arrogant or cocky, but all of you are aware that I've been fighting and triumphing over your kind, while your kind wore swastikas on their sleeves. And knowing that, do you really think you have a chance of defeating me? So it's a cool couple of panels where Cap is doing somersaults, using his shield, throwing it, ricocheting it off the ceiling, catching it as a guy's throwing a knife at him, dodging this, dodging that. The knife gets ricocheted into the wall. Cap then pulls the knife out of the wall. I think not. And then Cap throws the knife at the guy who threw the knife, and he throws it into his foot. You
Yeah.
pin you pinned my butt to the floor. Very observant. And then as the guy's reaching down to grab the knife out of his foot in the floor, Cap comes up and kicks him in the face.
Crack.
Now, I certainly hope this hasn't given Jack too much of a head start. I believe since the police will be taking all of you into custody, you won't need the electric keycard to access Faustus' asylum. Now let's see if Jack's gotten himself into or caused more trouble than he's capable of handling. And so we cut to a room that Jack is in, and there's a big Nazi symbol, swastika, up on the wall. And then from the other side of the wall, we say Faustus talking to Jack, who has his hands wrapped around his head. He's obviously in a lot of emotional turmoil. What did you tell Jack? Who did you tell? Why can you not get over this barrier in your mind, Jack? You said I would lose the memories. They cannot be eliminated from your subconscious until they have all been unearthed, Jack. Now tell me, little boy, what did you do to your family? And he keeps smacking him. And then there's some people on the other side of the monitor watching, but I don't know who they are. Will he break again? If anyone could do it, that butcher Faustus can. I am not quite surprised that Mr. Monroe, under his own violation, choose to undergo this procedure again. Don't be, Doctor. After all, the desire to repress is quite strong in the young man. The real interesting question is, why? Now we break to Faustus. Why, Jack? Why did you do it? Daddy, the men at school, they said they were your friends. They knew a lot about you and Mommy, so I believed them. But they weren't friends of your family, were they, Jack? Who were they? Who did you talk to, Jack? Who came to you at school and made you tell about the things in your father's basement? Who were they, Jack? Bob, do you want to describe what's going on in this scene?
Yeah, this is awesome. Rick. This is we're clearly in Jack Monroe's subconscious, and it's a city street. It's at nighttime, and we see somebody, presumably Jack's father, being led in handcuffs down the street, and he's being held on each arm by what looks to be some sort of undercover policeman. And we see some policemen in the foreground, and we see some a news reporter in the foreground as well, taking a photograph of what's happening. And then we see Jack's mother with Jack and his sister as young children, holding on to her. And there's a man behind Jack's mother. And in the foreground, we see Dr. Faustus. But the interesting thing is, every person in this scene, except for Jack and his sister and his mom and his dad, is Dr. Faustus.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting writing. I'm not so sure it's interesting drawing.
Well, it's not great, but
I listen, Bob. You know me. I like to look for good things.
yeah,
I I'll say the layout.
the concept is interesting.
The layout is
Mhm.
interesting, but this, Bob, I will say for Marvel Comics, this may have been some of the worst penciling I've ever seen.
Yeah. It certainly could have been executed a lot better. It's a great
I'm not a
concept. I
Rik
love some.
Levins fan, and this
Yeah,
guy's making Rik Levins look good.
yeah.
I listen. It's just
You're not
my
going for this.
opinion.
You're not going for this original art page, I guess. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's just my opinion, but yeah.
Yeah.
Next page, they were FBI agents. They took my father away. Then they took my mother. And by the way, Jack is all wired up in
Yeah.
this, right? He
Right.
he's got so many different wires stuck into him. Think of Barry Windsor Smith doing Wolverine in Weapon X, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
all these different things in him. Both of them for being Nazi sympathizers, for being a part of the Bund organization, which was still fighting against the United States for years after the war. And what happened next, Jack? I don't remember. Oh, but you will. And then outside, we see Cap in his civvies on a motorcycle using the card to go through the employee entrance at a gate. Approaching the complex in civvies was the safest route to take. At night, with the poor lighting around this place, most security would just think I'm an employee. Although the way things have been going lately, I might as well be an inmate. I still can't believe I was turned into a werewolf. Exactly how did I gloss over that part of the job description when I took this job? Enough of that. I have to find Jack before he commits an act from which I simply will not let him walk away. This drain pipe should give me easy access to the roof. And from there, keep searching the skylights and windows until I catch a glimpse of something 10 minutes later. And he's at a skylight, Bob.
Oh, thank goodness for architectural skylights.
You know what? Apparently, it's not just New York City.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, when we had Elliot Brown on, we asked him that question, right? Like,
Yeah.
is it prerequisite to have skylights in every building in New York City? And he said, absolutely. Well, apparently, same thing in Orlando.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, there, the doctor's in that observation. Who are they looking? Jack? And at this point, Jack jumps through that observation window. Remember those three people were watching? And he jumps through and he's grabbing one by the throat and it makes a loud noise, Bob.
Crash.
Okay, Bob, there's no R in there. There, yeah,
You're
you
right.
just you
Yeah.
you
I
were
butchered
seeing
that.
you totally were seeing something you thought was there and it wasn't
Yeah.
there.
I know. Yeah. You would have thought going through a window would have been a crash, but it was a
Right?
kachashash.
I remember now. I remember my parents all over the news. Traitors they were called. I remember the trial. I remember the media. I remember the hatred towards me and my sister. Now, of course, all the orderlies are coming in, but they got like really major league weapons, but Jack's making short work of them. And worst of all, I remember the day my parents died in the electric chair. I remember it all now. Because of you, Faustus, I remember it all. Indeed, you do. Bravo, my gallant wall climber. You have vaulted over the final barriers. Now, would you care to forget these painful memories? No. And he grabs one of the machine guns from the orderlies. To tell you the truth, you pig, I'd rather remember them all because they hurt and they make me angry and they make me crazy enough to do what I wanted so badly to do. And he grabs him by the tie and then he puts the machine gun in the mouth of Dr. Faustus. And that's to kill you. Jack, stop. Put that gun down immediately. You gotta be kidding me. What gives you the right to execute another man, Jack? I demand justice. It appears we have two very different definitions of the word. My good captain, I assure you I only did as the young man requested. He came back here to ask me to unlock the hurtful memories buried deep within his mind. Is that true, Jack? It is. And? And it's the last mistake Faustus will ever make. You cannot kill in cold blood, Jack. What about Alaska? In Alaska, we were being fired on. You fired back. That was war. This is murder. Why do people like him always get away, Cap? He won't get away. He's going to jail. A minimum security prison? A country club with bars on the windows, filled with his doctor buddies and their accountants? He gets to relax for maybe 2 years, tops. I have to live with what I thought I'd forgotten for the rest of my life. And Cap takes the gun and disarms it. What did he make you remember? The next closest thing in the world to death. He made me remember my life. So he walks away. And then 5 weeks later, we're at Waxland Minimum Security Prison outside of Orlando, Florida. And there we are. We see Dr. Faustus in the facility, and he's out in the yard playing horseshoes.
I love this.
He's in the cafeteria talking about mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce. And then at night, he's on a stroll through the garden, and the guard says, "Doc, it's getting chilly out. You better head on back to your room." "Of course, William. Thank you." And he's walking with those braces. And then he runs into who?
Oh my God, it's Nomad.
Are you sure? Because he has sleeves on his trench coat.
Same sunglasses though at night.
I wear my
Oh, there you go.
sunglasses at night just so. Right. It's been real rough on you here, hasn't it? And he's aiming his gun at his head. "Now what, Mr. Monroe? Are you going to shoot me?" The thought had crossed my mind. "Whatever for? Because I gave you back unpleasant memories of your childhood?" "No, for making the miserable lie which had been my life up until a month ago a preferable option." "How could you kill me for giving you the truth about yourself?" "If memory serves me, Doc, and it does now, my parents are both dead because of me. If I had that kind of blood on my hands already, how hard could it be to add yours to that stain?" And then there's a noise.
Wow.
And we see a downed Faustus with a bullet hole in his forehead as Nomad walks away. The end.
Just wow.
Yep,
It's a lot to process.
it is. I mean, it's an interesting story because we get to see, and this was a longer story. We came into the last two parts of it, um, so we get to see Fabian dive deeper into the backstory of Jack Monroe to kind of explain some of the issues that Jack had. We knew he had issues. We knew he had anger issues. We've seen that. Mark Gruenwald kind of built that up for quite some time. And now we see that Jack is allowing his past to really define him. And in one way, he was allowing the manipulation to define him to be like his dad, right? In that he was going to be a Nazi. And then ultimately, he realizes that he's not a Nazi. He doesn't believe in that, but he's having such a hard time living with the guilt of what happened to his parents that rather than deal with that guilt, he lashes out at the man who unearthed that. Not a good thing. Not he's crossed that. He's no longer, I would say, even a vigilante. He now crossed that line where he is now a bad guy.
Yeah. Not a healthy response. I think that's what you're saying.
True,
Yeah.
but I think this was a life-changing action that switched who Jack Monroe was.
Uh-huh. Yeah, in a broader sense, I'm not thrilled with the whole backstory. It seems a bit ham-fisted, right? A bit forced. But I think you're right. I mean, I do think you're right that this is sort of that switch, right, where he does cross that line from simply being a guy that maybe steps outside of law and order to deal with bad guys to one that is now deciding for himself who he's going to punish because of anger, as opposed to some notion of justice. So there we have it. But I wanted to hear you say, good toss, Jeffrey, as Dr. Faustus observes the boys in the yard playing horseshoes.
Ah, I didn't think it was worth it. Why did you want to hear me say that?
I love that panel because I'm like, Dr. Faustus, the mad, genius, villainous psychiatrist, providing positive reinforcement for the game of horseshoes in the prison yard.
Is that going on your t-shirt?
I don't know. It may very well be my T-shirt selection because it tickles me every time I see it.
Uh,
Yeah, good toss, Jeffrey.
yeah, you know what, and I think Jeffrey kind of makes it right because if
Yeah,
you had said, I don't know, Fred,
right.
right,
Yeah,
it wouldn't. It's Jeffrey
Jeffrey.
because he goes, but he prefers Jeff.
You know he does.
He
Yeah,
prefers Jeff, but
yeah.
Faustus has to go Jeffrey.
He's got to do the Jeffrey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Uh, any other thoughts on the story?
It is what it is, right? It is all built around trying to provide this backstory for Jack Monroe, which I just think is forced. So I'm not in love with the story. Um, I like Cap's persistence, but he's also a bit he leans a bit heavily on the violence
Yes,
in this story. So
100%, and that was both by Mark Gruenwald and Fabian.
yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely a 1993 version of Captain America. I mean,
yeah,
him taking out the kneecaps,
right. Pinning
yeah,
the
that was
guy's foot to the
excessive.
floor with a knife, and
I know that was I don't know. That was like a
he seemed a bit gleeful about
yeah,
taking these guys to town.
yeah. So it wasn't one particular writer. I mean, they both kind of wrote him to be a more violent than normal, but maybe that's just 1993 for you.
I said I wasn't collecting at the time. I was doing some other stuff around this period, so I did miss a lot of that shift. But I do remember 1986, Sylvester Stallone, Cobra. Do you remember that movie?
Dude, that's 7 years before this
Oh,
this
but it set the whole stage for that sort of like dark sunglasses, trench coat, kind of mumbling, sort of vigilante cop sort of thing
hmm
moving around. Of course, a much grittier version than say a Dirty Harry or Charles Bronson sort of character from the late '70s, early '80s.
hmm
So you still see the sort of the echoes from that shift in pop culture through those early '90s, just in the way Jack Monroe dresses, for crying out loud.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? We need to get uh I would love to see some cosplay. I want to see three different versions of Nomad cosplay,
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
I want to see this version with the long hair, of course,
Yeah.
right? And the trench coat and everything. I want to see the Jack Monroe 1983 version,
Uh-huh.
with the blue outfit with the gold
Yeah.
discs,
Yeah.
and maybe even the shoulder pads, who knows,
Who knows?
right?
Yeah.
I want to see that version. And then of course I want to see the Steve Rogers version with the cape
Okay.
and the open V,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we need some Nomad cosplayers
Yeah.
out there.
Step it up, boys
All
or
right.
ladies, whatever.
Yeah.
Multiverse.
All
Yeah.
right, Bob, I go first. I have my favorite, oops, I closed this up. I shouldn't close this up. Um, panel is in the Captain America issue, and it is page 6, and it is the first panel, which is a splash. Uh, and it is where Nomad is taking Cap's face and pushing it into the body of of the slug.
Oh
That
yeah.
is ridiculous to me. Um, the fact that
Mhm.
the slug, and first of all, there's no way he's only 450 pounds.
No, there's no way.
No way.
Yeah.
Um, and he's just got his face just in the body of the slug, and it's just so ridiculous. It's totally my favorite panel.
Yeah. And can I give you props for your slug voice? Because I enjoy your slug voice.
I try to go very slovenly.
It sounds perfect. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Very,
If anybody
very
wants to hear more of it, check out episode
yeah.
199, where the
Will do.
introduction of the
I'll be
slug.
hearing it like in my head later tonight and I'm laying in bed. So it just sort of sticks with you.
Sleep well, Robert.
There- My new ringtone. There you go.
How about you? What's your favorite panel?
I'm gonna go actually with the Nomad, Nomad no, number 19.
Uh-huh.
And it's that page. I think it's around page 8. It's when Jack is back with Faustus, and it's like a three-quarter splash, the bottom of the page, and it's Faustus, and he's reaching out, and his hand is really gigantic because
Uh-huh.
he's
Oh, yeah,
reaching
yeah, yeah.
toward the reader, and
Uh-huh.
he's beckoning Jack toward him. So I'm not in love with the art of this particular issue, but
Yeah.
I really do like that splash because it's menacing, and he's got sort of the everything is right about the perspective of that hand reaching toward the reader, and
Yeah.
it's spooky. So
It is.
it's well done.
All right. What are you putting on t-shirt?
Well, I'm going to have to go from the Cap issue with Cap on the motorcycle with the leather jacket
Okay.
and the helmet. I used to have a fairly big collection of motorcycle T-shirts back when
Mm-hmm.
I had my motorcycle, the one that worked. I've since gotten rid of a lot of those, but I think I would like. I don't have a cap on the motorbike. And I would have to like it would have to be embellished a little bit with those smoke clouds coming out from behind it, so you know that it's in motion.
Yeah, right.
But I like that,
Okay.
yeah.
That's cool.
And yourself?
I'm gonna go for the Cap issue, page 10, the big splash of Cap's legs, and then we see Faustus, at the end of the hallway.
Oh, the crotch shot, yeah, reverse crotch
No,
shot,
it would be the butt shot, Bob.
butt shot, the taint
Get
shot,
it
yeah.
right. Uh, yeah, it's got a little Mrs. Robinson theme kind of
That's
going on here, But it's just an interesting perspective, and um, you know, you mentioned this before. How often do you get a villain put up on a t-shirt? So we need a little Faustus on a t-shirt.
yeah. You're right. I don't know of any Faustus t-shirts. That seems one that is ripe for the making.
Well, there you go. We got two. We just named two of them right there.
Yeah, right. So, all right. And how about your time capsule, Rick?
That's going to be in Nomad. I'm going to go with page 12, and that's where Cap takes the knife and he throws it into the foot of that bad guy, and uh, it nails him to the floor, so to speak.
Mm,
And the reason I'm doing it because of the what we just talked about, right? And that is this is totally 90s, right? This
yeah.
is this is a 90s version of Cap. You just don't get this type of excessive violence in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even after that. It's totally a 90s thing in my mind as far as seeing him do these violent acts that you just don't normally. Now, maybe it's the knife is just hitting the just right and it's just the boot that's nailed to the ground, but the way the artist drew it, he'd have to have the widest gap between his toes for that to happen. And so but in any case it seems excessively violent, which I think is a period relevant of the period.
Yeah, that's good selection. Yeah. Um, well, for me, Rick, it's gonna have to be Nomad's attire because I can't get it out of my head. The parachute pants, the trench coat, those funky sunglasses. I don't even know what those are called. They're like a step up from. I have a neighbor who wears those, by the way. Uh, I hope he's not listening. Creepy dude. And he's like, he's in his 60s. So I think he's had those since the 90s.
Yeah, totally,
But
right?
he still sports them. And he is a man out of time himself. So, but that whole look is, man, it does speak to that time frame. And I got to admit, probably in 1993, I would have thought it was cool. I
Oh,
have,
totally.
I
Yeah,
gotta,
right.
I gotta
Yeah,
cop to that. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to Fabian next episode and ask him about the sunglasses and the whole attire thing
Yeah.
and see what he says. Yeah, so that'll be an interesting conversation. So come back next episode where we have Fabian Nicieza, who happens to be the co-creator of Deadpool and a also been writing for 40 years, to X-Men, to Thunderbolts, to New Warriors, you name it. But in addition to writing Nomad, Bob, he also was the writer of the miniseries from 1991, The Adventures of Captain America, that four-part story with artist Kevin McGuire. So love to talk to him about Adventures of Captain America because I have some questions, Bob. I got some
and
questions.
and the creator of Cynthia Glass.
I,
I know you're going to bring her up, Rick. Cap's first love.
I know you're gonna bring her up. I know you're gonna bring her up.
Indeed, I am.
I have lots of questions. I want to know, is this story in continuity or not? Because people seem to think it is, because of the whole Cynthia Glass
Right,
thing,
exactly.
I want to ask him the tough questions, like what happened with Kevin McGuire.
Yeah.
He's my one of my all-time favorite artists, and loved the first two and a half issues that he did. What happened there? So
Yeah.
come back next episode where we talk with Fabian.
It'll be a great talk.
All right, Bob. As always, it's been fun wrapping cab with you.
It has, Rick. I can't wait till next week.
All right. So please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube and give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Leave a comment in the Facebook pages. Do all of that because it certainly does help get us noticed. And we love hearing from you. So, as always, thank you for listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.